Hey, Adam,
Jeez,
one
why,
thing.
why do you think they call it bumpers, Gary?
I don't know.
Because they come at the beginning and at the end, like bumpers.
Alex, you're a marketing guy. Do you like that design behind Paul? Does that sweet logo thing look pretty cool to you?
Hey, I forgot to hit the record button.
Yeah, that's really professional, isn't it?
Well, this is a professional podcast.
I met her in a parking lot and was handed 2 little Yorkies. And the only person I knew that knew Yorkies was Paul. So I called Paul and said, Paul.
Sweet Talk is a weekly 20-minute podcast brought to you by the Continuing Education and Workforce Training Division of Idaho State University's College of Technology. Find us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and SoundCloud and subscribe today. Now it's time to get started with Sweet Talk.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sweet Talk, our weekly podcast here at Idaho State University's Continuing Education and Workforce Training. I am Paul Dickey, one of your hosts. I am the apprentice coordinator and video instruction manager here at Sweet. And as always, joining us is Raylan Price, our interim director. Raylan, how are you doing today?
Hi, it's a great day, Paul. It's midweek, which again is sometimes unusual for our podcast, but it is beautiful. It's a little cool outside this morning, but sunshine, and looking forward to the first day of spring that's coming up on Thursday.
It's
summer.
actually
First day of summer.
Yes, summer.
That's what
Yes.
I meant. Yeah. Go ahead, Paul.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say we also have Angie with us, and we are happy to have Angie. She's always adds so much to our podcast. So welcome, Angie. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. And as Raylan mentioned, summer is coming up. If you're listening from outside of Idaho, we can have a pretty intense weather during spring and fall. So we actually had a freeze warning last night. Everyone had to cover their plants. And in comparison, it was about 90 degrees a few days earlier than that.
It's going to be 90 degrees in a few days from now.
Yes.
That's right.
So welcome to Idaho's weather. But on that topic, we have a guest with us today. We have Nathan Gellis. He is with Saber Ridge Farms, and he will be our first guest in a series we do on small farmer and farmers markets in our area. Welcome, Nathan. Can you take a few minutes to tell us a little bit about yourself and your farm?
Yeah, so thank you guys for having me on here. It's a great honor, and especially since I get to be the very first ones for you guys, so that's pretty incredible. Touching about the crazy weather, so we definitely got hit by the frost last night. It's been kind of a little bit of a hard morning looking at things this morning that weren't covered up. So, yeah, it's going to be
shame.
we had a good push last week to make sure we had all the plants out while it was nice weather, and we had warm weather in the forecast, and now we're set back a while. So
shame.
That's just one of the challenges that come with farming and living in Idaho.
So did you go right out this morning and sprinkle it with water?
I've got the water running right now.
So
yeah,
you're hoping that it was salvaged some, huh?
Yeah. So we definitely put out a bunch of row covers on like the tomatoes and stuff last night, but we ran a little bit short, and we were praying that we could get by with it. And I think we got our answer.
Shame. So what do you have planted right now?
We have about 100 different crops and varieties planted right now. So we have anything from cucumbers to lettuce to potatoes, tomatoes, tomatillos, peppers, onions.
Wow.
Even growing like some kohlrabi, some parsnips. I even have a row of sweet potatoes this year.
Nice.
We're just kind of experimenting with a lot of different things. It's our first year as a small farmer and as a small market farmer. So we're trying to grow a large amount of different types of crops to see what the community wants to eat and what they prefer, and then kind of tailor it to their likings in the future. So this is a big experimental year.
So Nathan, you said this is your first year as a small farmer. What got you into farming and doing this farmers market?
So I grew up on a small family farm out here in Pingree, Idaho, just west of Blackfoot, about 30 miles. We grew alfalfa, so I've got agriculture in my DNA essentially. My parents would find, well, as soon as I was old enough to walk and ride the four-wheeler, they would find me just in someone's field riding in the tractor with some stranger that I met that day, asking if I could ride with them. And they'd get a call from my parents would get a call from him, say, "Hey, Nathan's in my tractor. Is it okay if he's rides with me for a little bit?" And they'd say, "Yeah, I guess if he's not bugging you, go on there." So, the next day I'd show up with my little lunch box and be out there almost all day. So that's about all I did was anything farming. Was my life. Once I graduated high school, I worked for several local farms and then went to University of Idaho and got my bachelor's degree in agronomy. And I worked a few years as an agronomist and then went back to school and did my master's degree in plant sciences and then finished that up.
Wow.
Yep. So finished that up last May. And then June, I started a new position with a company called Deco. And while I was there, learned a lot of different, I guess, opinions on farming. And it seems like media has been all against conventional farming and commercial farming and everything like that. So I wanted to do this kind of market garden farm and have some conventional practices and some organic practices to kind of introduce the community to what farming actually is, and that agriculture is not trying to kill them. They are trying to do the best they can and produce the most healthy crop that they can for society to enjoy. So a lot of this is supposed to be educational and just trying to teach people that we are doing the best we can and we are trying to feed you as healthily as we can.
So on that vein, Nathan, you're selling your produce or your crops at the farmers market here in Pocatello, correct?
Yep. Yes, I am.
So do you try to educate the buyers or consumers, or do you find they just want your vegetables and move on?
There's a mixture. There's a lot of people that actually ask questions on where we're at, what we believe in, kind of our practices and everything like that. So we've had a few opportunities to start educating people on how we farm and why we farm the way we do. We've had a couple return people that come and have a little conversation with us every week. So that part is really enjoyable, getting those return customers and, kind of talk about some different things. I've got one guy that we've been sharing kind of docu-series that we watch and back and forth and share each other's opinions on them. So that's been really, really fun to kind of talk about those and go back and forth on, different practices and beliefs and everything like that. So I'd say it's a good diverse mix of people that really want to know where their food is coming from, and then some that just want to buy some and go home and eat.
So
That's great.
I have a question for you. You had stated that you grow about 100 different crops. How big is your farm?
So right now we only have about a half an acre, which on the farming side is small, but for a single person or family, I guess, trying to farm on their spare time, it's definitely a lot.
So how much yield can you expect off of a half an acre?
That's a little bit tough because we have a bunch of different crops. So each crop will yield their own amount, and there's only a row or two of each crop. So our yields are going to be pretty decent. The things that survived should be pretty decent, we'll say. Our greens have been yielding very well. I would say we're probably getting 20 pounds of greens mix and spinach a week at the rate we've been going. So potatoes, we're hoping to have probably 1,000 to 2,000 pounds of potatoes by the end of the year. So
that's incredible. So how did you choose the varieties that you're planting?
A lot of it's my curiosity and wanted to see what will grow. I really like to cook. So that's another part of this I guess journey and why I started this farm is I really enjoy cooking, and sometimes sourcing fresh ingredients in Eastern Idaho is a little tough. Sometimes our supermarkets don't carry a wide variety of different types of foods. So I wanted to be able to grow something that I could use in my own cooking. And then I think we can kind of change the way people eat. If they have more ingredients available, they might start eating more fresh and more healthy meals and learn to cook a little bit more at home instead of, eating all this processed food, eating out every day and everything. So kind of a twofold part right there. So a lot of it is what I wanted to cook with. So I planted it and I wanted to see if it would grow here.
That's cool. I love it.
So Nathan, can of worms that I'm going to open here.
Yeah.
What are some of the greatest challenges in farming and doing a small farmers market kind of yield?
So there's been a lot of challenges this year. It's probably been one of the hardest springs we've had in a very long time. We've been having lots of different frost events, such as last night, and again, we're going to freeze again tonight. So that's been a major issue, trying to time your planting of crops so they don't get taken out by weather. Wind has been another big challenge. So that can take out crops also, just getting them beat back and forth with all the 40, 50 mile an hour winds we've been getting.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of insect pressure. We have what's called cutworm in the spring. So if you plant a small plant and it's smaller than about your finger in diameter, they'll actually wrap around the stem of that plant and just cut it off right at the base. And so that plant's gone. We struggle with that a lot this spring, and where we're not using any insecticides or spraying any chemicals on the crop, it makes it a very, very big challenge. And you mentioned opening a can of worms in your comment. Just had about I just harvested a row of turnips the other day, and we have a little grub that's eaten into them, and I would say about 70 to 80% of them had to go to compost or animal feed because the grubs made them unmarketable.
Oh, that's too bad. So you do then practice, is it organic growing or
I'm calling it sustainable.
Sustainable.
So,
Okay.
yeah, definitely not certified organic. And I think me personally, I think going the organic route puts too many limitations on what we can do. And there's more sustainable options out there, mixing conventional and organic kind of farming practices. I think we can become a lot more sustainable than what we are. So,
well, so when you're not using like insecticides and that type of thing to prevent the grubs and the worms, and what can you do like to prevent that?
Hope.
Hope and pray, huh?
so yeah, but there's a lot of that. We try to plant other crops that might deter other pests. Timing your plantings can help. If you delay your planting, you might get away from some of the cutworm. They might hatch into their moths, and go away from that. And timing things with the life cycle of the insect can help a little bit. There are some essential oils or vinegar that you can kind of put that deter things away that don't work great, but helps a little bit.
So Nathan, I asked you what the challenges were. What do you find the most rewarding for what you're doing right now?
I think it's getting to meet everybody at the market. And like I mentioned earlier, we get those return customers that come back and say, hey, that was really great. We really enjoyed it. We want another bag of that, or we want 2 bags of that. This was awesome. And just getting to those return customers and getting to build those relationships and getting to talk to them and, educate them a little bit, and them educate us on what they liked and what they didn't like. So I would say the community aspect and the socialization aspect is probably the most rewarding part of the farm.
So I have a fun question that's kind of along the line with Paul's. What is your favorite vegetable to grow and or eat? And what have you seen is the favorite of your customers?
Okay, so I think I'm kind of obligated to say that the potato is my favorite. I work in the potato industry, and so we're gonna have to stick with that one for now, to grow and to eat. One that's actually been a lot more popular at the markets than I ever thought it would be is kohlrabi. We only grew a few of them this year just because we had one person suggest that, you know, they would want to see kohlrabi in a farm when we did a little survey, and we planted a few, and you know, we've had a lot of people asking
I'm
if we
I'm
had
sorry. What's
more.
kohlrabi?
It's a root vegetable that grows a bulb about that big that you can eat, and it's got a mild and earthy flavor. Similar, it's in the same family as like cabbage
Oh,
and broccoli, so similar kind of profiles to that, but it's the root portion that you eat rather than the head or the flower.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how do you prepare it?
Some people say they like to eat it raw. They just slice it real thin and just eat it that way. You can roast it or saute it and put it in anything. I've seen some recipes that they'll shred it and put it into like a coleslaw.
Hmm.
So I haven't personally eaten a whole lot of it in the past. So
You're experimenting.
So
I'm
Nick,
ashamed to say I actually sold out all the stuff I grew on the farm and actually had to go buy some the other day
wow.
so I could cook with it and taste it and see if I can make some more recommendations for how people can use it.
You're
So
becoming
so
a food adventurer.
Yes,
venture.
that's for
Yes.
sure.
So Nathan, you do the farmers market every Saturday. What's typical? I mean, what time do you load up and what time do you have to get there? And when at some point do you go, I guess we're done for the day, or do you sell out everything every Saturday?
So yeah, that's a really good question. And you know, people think it's just a easy thing for these growers to show up to, and you know, it's only a couple hours of their time. We actually start prepping for the farmers market a day or two in advance. We have to time the harvesting of the crop. So, you know, your lettuces, your chars are all still really, really fresh. So we're harvesting those, you know, Friday afternoon to Friday night. The Saturday I met the people that asked me to do this, we were out at 10:30 at night, still packaging lettuce and kale and everything into bags. I had my four-wheeler lights and another little light I had on there so I could still see out there picking and stuff. So there's all that stuff. And then that next morning I woke up at 5 in the morning so I could finish harvesting, finish packaging, get the truck loaded up, drive. We have to have everything set up at the market by 9 a.m. and ready to be sold. And then we're there until 1 p.m. Is our end of our market time. And then we have to pack up and head home. So we're looking at from 5 a.m. till 2 o'clock by the time I get home, 3 o'clock of selling, and then the day or two in preparation for that. So next time you're at the market and you kind of wonder why they're a little bit higher than grocery store prices, there's definitely a reason for it.
So Nathan, next question is, I mean, we're talking about you, but is your family involved in helping you with this endeavor?
Yes, they are. So I've got my wife and little boy that help out on their spare time when he's not in school, and when he's not hanging around on all of his summer activities. So they help a little bit on the farm, and my wife helps with the social media a little bit on that side of things. And then I've actually got my brother and my dad helping out on their spare time. My dad's retired, and he actually comes every morning and helps weed the garden and farm area for a couple hours. And then my brother comes after he gets off of work in the evenings and helps me plant and maintain everything in the evenings also. So it's been a really good thing to kind of bring our family a little bit closer together, and get to kind of share and prosper in the successes and failures of what we're doing.
Well, that's really awesome. So when you were up at University of Idaho, did they have the great farmers market that they have today where they would close off the streets and
Yes,
Yeah.
they did. They had a pretty good farmers market. At that time, I wasn't super keen into that
into that?
industry.
Okay.
Yeah, I attended it once or twice, but it definitely wasn't a weekly habit. kind of interesting how things come full circle. And
It wasn't your inspiration, is that what
it
you're
definitely
saying?
was not my inspiration. No.
You didn't foresee that you were going to be a farmer's market, small farmer. Yeah.
Never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd end up in this kind of position, but it's been an awesome journey, and love every moment of it. So
Well,
So-
that's we're about out of time, so I'll turn it back to Paul. I think you might have had one more question before he wraps us all up.
Well, the one thing I was going to say is, I'm from the East Coast. I moved here from the Boston area. And, when I hear farmers market, I think, people selling vegetables and so forth. But I moved here 20 years ago. And the first time I went to the Pocatello farmers market, there wasn't a lot of vegetables being sold. Very few vendors selling vegetables. And because a lot of the farmers have big giant farms and they work for the, they're supplying for the big companies, agricultural companies. But I have noticed a shift in, I'd say, the last 10 years, that more and more small farmers are showing up at the farmers market. People like yourself that are growing the crops and bringing them there. What do you think the change was, Nathan?
That's a really good question, and I think there's been a change in culture. East Idaho kind of took a little bit longer to adopt it, as like you're mentioning on the East Coast or in some of these bigger cities. But I think there's a lot of potential, and I think we're heading in a path that people are going to be wanting to know where their food comes from and have that connection to their food. And they want to know how it's produced, and they want to have a face to where their food's coming from. And so I think that's just kind of a movement that's impacting our society right now. And I think it's going to grow, especially in the Pocatello area. I think the culture is changing enough there that it's going to keep growing. And to kind of speak to that, the existing vendors there have been amazing to work with. Most of the time when you try to enter a new market, everybody's like, shoes away, new competition or anything like that. And, almost every farm I've talked to at the market currently are super welcoming. They encouraging, they give you tips on how to do things better. And, they're super welcoming and almost make it like a family. So that's another really good thing about the farmers market in Pocatello.
Is it the shared experiences? They know the joys of success and the failures as well.
Yeah, that probably helps a little bit too. So they have somebody that probably is doing worse than them, so it makes them feel a little bit better.
So Nathan, if someone wanted to reach out to you, do you have social media, a webpage or so forth, or anything like that?
Yep. So we're on Instagram and Facebook right now, at Saber Ridge Farms LLC. You can look us up on there either way, or you can reach out to me personally. I have my cell phone number 208-520-1974. We are selling vegetables on the farmers markets on Saturdays at the Portneuf Valley Farmers Market, and we are selling here out of our house also during the week. So if you have any interest in any vegetables, just give me a call or text. We can update you what crops we have available, and we can get an order placed for you and have it ready for you when you get here.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
So you are in Pocatello?
We're in west of Blackfoot. We're in Riverside.
West of Blackfoot. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, terrific. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Nathan. This was a fun conversation. I really enjoyed it. I have more questions. Maybe we can have you on again.
Yeah, I'm more than happy. This has been awesome.
Yeah, seems so busy. But if anyone wants to check out our offerings, they can visit our website at cetrain.isu.edu, or you can give us an email at cetrain@isu.edu. You can also give us a call at 208-282-3372. And if you like this podcast, this is the way that we reach out to our community and introduce our community to people like Nathan, who are part of the farmers market. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'd appreciate it. And as always, be safe out there.